Hey, what's going on, Niner fam? It is Peter Lucas. I got with me today Miss Miriah from 49 Faithfully podcast. And hey, this is the Niner Fanatic Podcast. What's going on, Niner fam? Thank you for coming through. And once again, it is Peter Lucas. I got with me Miriah from 49 Faithfully podcast. Miriah, so happy to have you on. Your family to the show. I've been on your show a few times. But why don't you tell everybody where they can find your stuff and where they can find you on the socials?
Yeah, Pete, I appreciate you having me on. As always, it's a pleasure to come onto your platform. Um, on YouTube, you can find me and my co-host TL at 49 Faithfully Pod. And then I have the other socials, but I really only use Twitter at Miriah 49 Lee.
Yeah, and I think that's where I met you. But all just real quick before we get into it, just so you know, you can find me on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. Plus, you can get the audio anywhere where you can get your favorite audio podcasts. And also, please like and subscribe. Please tell your friend to tell a friend, and we can be friends. We can do this every weekend. You know what I'm saying? So it's just appreciate everybody out there that comes in and look. And we already got one in here, Damien. Appreciate you coming in. What's up, Niner Faithful? Appreciate you, Damien. You always come through. But let's start off with we had a huge win on, and I think I say that every single show that we had a huge win. But like down the stretch of these seasons, all these wins are big, and because we're all talking about seeding, we're all talking about health and like how we can best position the team to get into the playoffs. And it looks like our we're pretty solid in the division race, and it looks like we're going to probably win this division. But we gotta play Seattle in a couple days, Thursday, and it's always when it's in Seattle. But talking about the win on Sunday, we got four games left on the schedule. Do you think the 49ers can win the rest of their games? And what's your kind of prediction about that?
When I pulled up, I hadn't even looked, to see who we played, I I'm like the 49ers 1 week at a time. I have to live my life now. But when you had sent me the questions, and I looked it up, looking at it, the only one I could see us, the one I think that we'd have the most, trouble, if any, are the Commanders. So I do think that, we have a good chance of, closing it out, all wins, but, any given Sunday, of course. But if I were to just when I pull it up and look at it, that's the one that jumps out to me that will give us our biggest problem. Like I said, if any.
Yeah. And I completely agree with you. I think I said that on my instant reaction show that I had on Sunday was that the Commanders, it looks like, just because they have a defense, out of the four games, we've got, we got the Seahawks next, then we've got the Commanders, then it's the Raiders and the Cardinals, who are both those teams are dumpster fires. Yep. So not that I want to look past any team, but they're bad. So I'm not counting those as a win, but I'm pretty sure we're going to win those games. And but the Commanders, they've got, not that their quarterback is good. Heineke is not really good, but he does enough. He's better than Carson Wentz had been. Yeah. And I just look at that team as having a good defense. They do have some running backs and Brian Robinson and who's their other guy? Um, shoot, I forgot what the other guy's name is,
Yeah, I
but
forgot.
but regardless, he's actually pretty decent. Like, but it really Brian Robinson's been the one ever since he came back from his injury. Like, well, injury, he got shot, uh, but I
Yeah,
digress.
that's amazing. He came back so
Yeah,
fast from that,
crazy.
that like all like I think he got hit with a few bullets and they all
Yeah,
missed, every major thing that they could possibly miss. And then he's like back playing football after a few weeks. It's like unbelievable.
yeah. I mean, big up to you, bro. Like,
Yeah, for real.
I'd
I'd
still be
be
laying
milking
up.
that for 6 years.
Yeah, for sure.
A year for each bullet.
Yeah, exactly. Like, but so yeah, they're the only team that I look at that could maybe give us a problem. And I still think the 49ers are better than they are. And the way if Brock Purdy is still playing the way that he's been playing the last couple of games, then yeah, I think that I don't think that there's a team that out of these four that can really beat us. And it's gonna be interesting down the stretch. I would love for all these games to be easy. Like,
Yeah.
but we have uh so I just mentioned and we're all excited about Purdy season. And what do you think? Why do you think it is that he looks so good in this offense? And what was your favorite play you made on Sunday?
Well, I mean, I think if we compare, this offense, so I don't know if that's necessarily like Jimmy offense, because the offense that we've seen so far for Brock has been closer to similar to Jimmy's offense, and Trey Lance's offense is like somewhere all the way over here, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if we're talking about in this offense, like the Jimmy offense, I think it's because they're similar in the way that they're able to get the ball out of their hands quick. They have they're able to pinpoint accuracy, get the ball here right now. We've seen that they've been trying to throw everything at Purdy, right? Like
Yeah.
30 guys, it feels like, are coming off the line rushing him, and he's able to like stand there calm, cool, collective, and get the ball out of his hands. Like, I think he reads and reacts faster than Jimmy. Jimmy might have a quicker release, per se, but I think that like he's a lot more intelligent than Jimmy. And he's just able to like go through his reads, knows what's coming, he reacts and gets the ball out. I think my favorite play, I don't know, there was a bunch, but I think the one where I want to say it was in maybe the first quarter, and like the defender comes off the edge free, and he like pulls like this little juke move and kind of like,
Yeah.
And the defender's like there skating, on ice, and then he's able to get the ball out and deliver it, to the right to Debo.
Yeah, you
Like
stole
that
mine.
was awesome because in the past, and I'm so used to what we've been used to seeing, and I'm thinking, oh, that's it, he's a goner, because
Yeah.
what we're used to, no way would our quarterback have been able to get out of that or had those kind of moves. He would have been tap dancing back there and would have taken a sack. So it was awesome to see him be able to put the moves on, still getting out of trouble, getting the ball out of his hands while he's on the move, and delivering a ball, where it needs to go still. I think that was awesome. I also like the play, and this is Shanahan as well, because we haven't seen this in the past. It seemed like before halftime, and I always hated this, we'd have, whether it was a minute or 30 seconds or whatever, Shanahan would just, take a knee, go to halftime. It's like, you can still go for it, like Hail Mary, something, why not try to put on some more points on the board, but it seems like you'd, take a knee, run out the clock. And so Shanahan's like, we're actually going for it before the half. And I'm like, dang, like this is new, right? Like, seems like he trusts Purdy already more than he trusted Garoppolo.
Yeah, he was going for the jugular.
Yeah. And then Purdy throws that interception, right? That gets called back by penalty. And still, so I'm like, oh, great. Shanahan, maybe that's going to scare him, right? And we're just now going to take a knee because, we don't want to get in trouble, right? And no, he still goes for it. And Purdy delivers that 32-yard freaking bomb to Ayuk for the
Next
touchdown right
play.
before the half, right?
Yeah,
Like, yeah,
next play.
that was awesome. So I think both of those were two of my favorites, at least in that game.
Yeah, and you stole my first. You stole that first one you had was the one I was going to use. But I mean, in all reality, he played really well. He played really well, and there's so many plays that you could actually point to. I mean, it started off a little rough. He didn't recognize the free rusher on the very first play
Man,
and
he
got
took a hit.
clobbered. He got clobbered, and I was like, "Oh my god, please don't let this be the way that this game is going to go." And hey, thank you, Bree, for coming in. Appreciate you. Bang bang.
Hey, Bree.
And but yeah, it was just a really good performance by him. And what's to be excited about, just like you were mentioning, it's the reads for me. It's him, the pre-snap reads, and even the post-snap, the way he looks off defenders and doesn't give away where he's going with the ball. He doesn't stare down receivers. He's on time. Like, I mean, he's on time. He has a internal clock and he's getting the ball out. Like, it's
Yep.
not a lot of tap dancing back there, and he doesn't look indecisive. He's just really decisive, and that's the biggest thing about being a quarterback. I think in general is just being decisive of seeing what you see and being decisive about where you want to go with the ball. And I think he's moldable, and I think that's what Shanahan kind of likes about him, is that Shanahan wants to tell you where to go with the ball. I still believe that, but
Yeah.
at the same time, he's probably telling him, hey, you can go here. If this isn't there, then you need to go. Then you're gonna need to look here. There's your progression. And and I think that Purdy, I think in the past that, like you were saying, Jimmy, I think struggles with remembering where to go. I think that he sees the rush, but he doesn't go through his progression fast enough, and like his mind just doesn't process the information quickly enough. And by that time, the guy's already through the zone, and it's too late to throw it, and then he's throwing a pick or whatever the case is. But Purdy, specifically, that guy, like, I mean, the offense just looks so fluid when it's going through him. And even when there's nothing there, like, he goes through his progressions, nothing was there. Oh, he runs out of trouble, gets 4 or 5 yards, like, just off a run. Like, and his running, from what I understand, was what got him hurt. Like, but they said when he dove for that,
first
dove
down
on that one play. But I mean, it's the fieriness that we like in him also, and I think it gets his team pumped up. He's like a miniature mixture to me of Trey and Jimmy, because he doesn't have, like, he has the fieriness of Jimmy. Jimmy gets all pumped up whenever he makes any kind of play. And and when he gets a touchdown, the guys all rally around him. And you see that with Purdy. But then also Purdy has just enough athleticism to get out of trouble. And I feel like I think Trey makes decent reads too. But I think he's still learning the position. But Purdy has just accelerated because he's been a starting quarterback for 4 straight years at Division I school. So, I mean, it is what it is. But my favorite play, you took my favorite play, but I'm going to go with my second favorite play. Obviously, was that play to Christian McCaffrey. I mean, the throw, I had to stand up out of my chair, and I was like, I stood up and I was just like, wait a minute, because I was like, it's right on line. And he threw it. I mean, he couldn't have thrown a better ball in my estimation. So yeah, it was a beautiful ball. And for CMC, if CMC had caught it out right and the guy hadn't even knocked at it, I mean, it would have looked even more perfect. So it was a great play. But
and it's cool, like how you say, "Oh, I stood up out of my chair." Like, for me personally, like, and we talked about this on Ryan's show for the last couple of weeks, is that I've been missing that excitement. Like, yeah, I'm excited because I get to watch my favorite team, yada, yada. But I feel like it's just almost gotten to where it's just like, I'm going through the motions. Okay, I'm going to watch football now, taking my notes for my show. Okay.
Yeah.
Because it's just been like this offense that's just like chugging along, right? Like, now with Purdy there, it's like this excitement, like, I was so excited for the season to start because, like I'm a huge fan of Trey Lance and his potential and what this offense could be with him in it. And then obviously when he got hurt and Jimmy came in, I was on board with Jimmy because that's our quarterback, right? But it's like that excitement went away because I'm like, okay, well, this is the same thing, like the same thing that we've been doing year after year for the last 5 years, like I already know how this story ends, and now, I never wish injury on anybody, I hope Jimmy the best, I hope he's able to heal up and have, finish out his career with somebody else. But now it's like, I'm so excited, like the way that, Purdy plays and the way he has the team playing and the offense is just, clicking on all cylinders right now. And it's just so exciting to see, like, I couldn't wait to watch, the game. And I've watched it like 6 times since, it's
it was just so fun. It was fun.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we were missing. Yeah, I think that's what we've been missing. Like, it's fun. Like, it's fun to watch a game. Before, it was just always anxiety. Like, what's going to happen? Are we going to underperform again? Are we going to complain about Kyle's play calling again? Are we going, like, it was just, there's just so, like, when you're getting ready for a game, like this past, 2 years, I feel like it's when we go into the game, I'm sitting there in front of my TV and I'm just like, okay, like it's 3rd and 5, like it's through the whole game. And like this was the first time in a long time where there was like, I was like, oh, this is about like this is about to be, I looked up, it was 21-0, and like and I'm jumping out of my chair, I'm saying yelling about what a throw, what a catch, like what a run. It just seemed like it was like he was just the key to unlock all the playmakers that we knew were on this team. And it was almost like validation a little bit, because we had been talking about our weapons for like the last 2 years, at least the last 2 years.
Yeah, like other teams, people don't give Ayuk any respect because they're like, oh, well, look at his numbers. He hasn't had 1,000-yard this. He hasn't had this. He hasn't look at his touchdowns. It's like, well, what do you expect? Look at his quarterback, like he's doing all that with that, like Debo's doing all that with that. Like,
and that's what we always had to do. Look at who's throwing in the ball. We always have to have an excuse or a qualifier for every argument. And like, and it was nice for once just for nobody to be able to say anything. We didn't, for the first time on Twitter, none of the people on Twitter from the other teams even mentioned the Niners. They didn't want to talk about them. Like it was crazy. I got to work and I was just like, and I mean, one of my coworkers is a really big Steeler fan, and he didn't want to say one word, because he had been talking about Jimmy, like, oh, you guys aren't going anywhere. You got Jimmy. And like, not that I hate on Jimmy. I think Jimmy is a serviceable quarterback. And honestly, he had been playing the best that I've seen for such a long period. Like, but honestly, like, I mean, we haven't seen this kind of efficiency for a long time. So, but I want to get into, some people were comparing Purdy to Mullins because of his first start, and they have very similar numbers. Do you think that there is a comparison to be made with Mullins, or do you think that there's some things that people aren't looking at?
Yeah, I don't like that comparison at all.
Yeah.
Number one, I'm not big on comparing anyways. Like, I just want the player to go out there and be himself, show us who he is. Like, why do we always have to compare him? Oh, well, he's going to be this, or he's like this, or he's like that. Like, we don't know who he is,
Exactly.
And so it's like people are just so quick to write these player stories now, but like from what we've seen, the little, that we've seen, and I think the way that he acts, the getting counted out, obviously being the last pick in the draft, and just his whole story being little. He kind of reminds me
He's so
of
little.
A mixture. Yeah, I know. I get scared because like like when he's standing next to Trent Williams, and I'm like, man, could you imagine if Trent Williams were to trip and fall or something? Like Purdy
or got hungry?
Like, yeah. I want to say like a mixture between Alex Smith and Jeff Garcia.
That's a good comp.
I don't like comparing him to like these backups that we've had recently. Like, I just don't feel like that gives him does him any justice. Like, I feel like he's going to be a lot better than, any backup that we've recently had on this team.
Hey, what's up, Brandon? Appreciate you coming through, bro. And yeah, I agree with you. Like, I like the Jeff Garcia comp. Like, I think I heard a couple of people mention the Jeff Garcia. I think the Purdy's a little bit, but I like the Alex Smith mixed in there because gives him a little bit more athleticism, and like that's because that's what I see. I mean, he has the fieriness. Jeff Garcia, I don't think people remember how good Jeff Garcia was.
I loved him.
Like, and I know the TO kind of tarnished his reputation a little bit with how he was talking about it, but Jeff Garcia was a solid quarterback when he played for the 49ers. And so that is not a slight. I heard Peacock
isn't that our last Pro Bowl quarterback?
Pro Bowl. Cap made one, didn't he?
Didn't he?
Cap made one.
Oh, okay.
I'm pretty sure he made one.
But still, like, man.
But still, yeah, it's but yeah, Jeff Garcia. I like Jeff Garcia. I was shocked that we had, because if you really look at that era, so we go from Montana, then to Steve Young, and then people forget about the little uncertainty there because Steve Young got hurt a couple of times, and they had Elvis Gerback.
Yeah,
like that was kind of, and he ended up going somewhere else, but like because obviously they had Steve Young, but they've had and then Jeff Garcia came after Steve Young got too many injuries, but yeah, the 49ers were always able to find those guys, and then all of a sudden we couldn't.
Yeah,
I mean, the cupboard was bare for years. I remember winning a show one time, winning a trivia show one time because it was one of those stump your give me a question that I can't answer thing. And I asked him, what was the first, or what was the last three quarterbacks after Jeff Garcia for the 49ers. Can you name them?
Probably not.
So we had Tim Rattay.
The
then we had
school guy.
Yeah, we had Tim Rattay. Then it was Ken Dorsey, and then it was JT O'Sullivan.
Yeah,
but yeah, it was. But the guy was like, "Oh my god, I would have never gotten that." Like, yeah, we were so bad for so long. But
yeah,
I digress.
And I think that people don't give Jeff Garcia the credit because of who he came after so close. Like, I feel like if we would have had Jeff Garcia in the place of Garoppolo, say, like a bigger gap between Steve Young and Joe Montana, I think he would have got more respect. But since he came so close to Joe Montana and Steve Young, everybody's like, and everybody still, especially the older fans, right, compare every quarterback. Oh, well, they're not Montana, like, well, no, nobody's going to be Montana probably, like,
especially
they're so stuck to those, so that's probably why he got so much hate too. Like, people didn't respect him and give him credit because of who he was coming after.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. I mean, you can't. First off, I mean, people weren't respecting Steve Young.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like, which is crazy to think about. Like, but yeah, it's fandom. I mean, you can't really blame him. We were coming off of 4 Super Bowls, and then Steve Young got one, and we were saying he was a disappointment.
Yeah.
And then we haven't seen one since.
Yeah.
Now we would do anything to get that back. So. Thanks, Rick Diaz, for coming in. Appreciate you, man. Yeah, thank you for coming in. Thank you for watching. And he says, how can I wait till Thursday night game, go 49ers? Man, it seems like such a short turnaround. It's going to be I think it's going to be a really interesting game. But do you see anything in Purdy that and I promise this is my last Purdy question. But do you see anything in Purdy that teams could key on and to kind of shut him down?
It's interesting because, normally young quarterbacks teams do exactly what they've been doing to Purdy, send everything at him, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna mix up, look like you have 8 rushing on the freaking line, and some drop off, some rush. We've been having free rushers, that aren't getting
Yeah.
picked up, and yet he's finding a way to beat that. He's finding a way to get rid of the ball fast enough than a guy's being able to pummel him down.
Yeah.
So I don't know, once I seen this question, I was thinking about it like, I'm interested to see what teams, because he's been getting through what teams normally do. So, I mean, obviously if we have to, which, I mean, like we had said, the Commanders is the best defense, that we're going to have to face coming up, but a team that has better corners than what we've been facing, like, I don't know what else, honestly, that they're going to be able to do.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see.
I was watching Brad's live stream, Brad Graham's live stream this before I got home today, and he made an interesting point, like about not about stopping Purdy or anything, but the one play where Purdy threw the interception in this past game, like that. I guess the interception that really wasn't an interception, but I still count it, and but how it happened was there was they put a defensive lineman out in they made him fall off in coverage. And I think that is those are the times when Brock is going to there's going to be times, because he is so decisive and he's going to trust what he sees, that sometimes when they disguise that coverage and when they drop a guy in coverage that he thinks is going to blitz, that could be where he could be had. I think those are going to be, and this is the thing that happens to every single quarterback in this league from time to time. Like, so I don't even know if that's something that you can say will stop him, but I think if you're looking for a place that he maybe needs to work on, it maybe recognizing those times, and even then it's going to be hard to recognize when they're going to throw a defensive lineman into coverage. So. It is what it is. But I don't necessarily – I love the way that he's playing, and I love what he's seeing, because it looks like I was watching Brad's broadcast, and he just seems to be seeing the field, like, even though he's so short and he's so little, he just seems to be seeing the field like he's watching the All-22.
Yeah.
And it's pretty crazy. Like, I mean, I think there was a couple of throws where he could have probably gone for the deeper pass, but you can't argue with positive yardage. And so it is what it is.
And I think that's where we're seeing that 4 years of college really come into play, because he's seen so much football. Like, there's not much, even though it's at a different level, of course, in the NFL, but there's not much that you're going to be able to throw at him or be able to do that he hasn't seen at least once. Where Trey Lance, there's so much you can do that he's never even seen, because he's hardly had any snaps of football, but Purdy's had so many snaps and played so much ball that's what he has on his side, is that experience.
Yep, I agree. Like, so let's talk a little bit about Debo's injury. And it was when we saw it on the field, I immediately just felt like, because I was already like, we were it was already so many highs in the game, and it was just like an immediate like punch to the stomach, and like and but it looks like it's not going to be as bad as it looked, and it looks like it looks like the ankle sprain wasn't a high ankle sprain from what they're saying, and like and there was an MCL sprain, like so nothing broken, and nothing. It looks like they said that he could even be back as soon as the week 17, but. Should the team? Do you think the team should save him for the playoffs, regardless of if he can come back earlier?
Yeah, if say he's good to go the last game of the season, or he can play the last 2 games of the season, I would hold him out to the playoffs, unless say that we lose the next whatever games and we have to win those, to even make it into the playoffs. Okay, well then but if we're trucking along, the way that we have been and things are looking good. I would save him till we need him in the playoffs, because you don't want to rush him back, and then he ends up really, doing something worse. And it seems like, that's been the pattern with him is that he gets a pull here or a tightness here or whatever, and then he still plays through it, and then it gets worse. He ends up pulling it, and then he's out for a couple of weeks, and then it's like the same pattern over and over. So it's like, let him stay out, get healthy, and get one of our biggest weapons back for when we need him the most in the playoffs.
Absolutely. That's how I feel about it. I think that they just need to put him in bubble wrap until the playoffs start. And yeah, like you said, just hopefully the other guys can step up and we can do enough to get these victories, and hopefully we'll be in the 2 spot. But even if we're not in the 2 spot, I like the fact that we're probably going to get at least one home game, and which we haven't had in the past. So what's your feeling? Like, this is the thing. I'd hear it. You see it all over Twitter. As soon as this injury happened, everybody's talking about why does Kyle run people, his best guys up the middle? Why does he call plays the way he calls? They question Kyle the most because we've had so many injuries. And I think people are just tired of seeing our best players get injured. And so they look to, well, it's got to be the way Kyle's coaching them, got to be the way Kyle's using them. What do you think? What's your feeling on the way Kyle uses his best players? What do you think? Like, do you think that he could do any better than what he's doing?
Yeah, I don't like the idea of running our best players that aren't running backs down the middle, through the middle, like the Deebo running to the outside, like that's what he's good at. Like the old Raheem Mostert, get to the edge, beat your guy, and take off, right? Like that's where I want to see Deebo use, not when we're up 21 points and you're freaking smashing him through all these big ass guys. Like, what do you expect is going to happen? Like, as soon as that happened, I felt like deja vu all over with Trey Lance injury. Like, like you have Mason there that hadn't even got a touch. Yeah. He's the bulldozer. That's who should be in there taking those carries. Not your quarterback, not your wide receivers, not your tight end, not your fullback, your running back, the bulldozer. Like, why is he sitting on the bench? So, yeah, I hate that. And it's not everybody wants to say, oh, well, you guys like it when he runs Deebo and Deebo scores, or, like you're only complaining about it because Deebo got hurt. And I don't care if Deebo takes it down the middle and ends up scoring a touchdown. I don't like him used that way, period.
Yeah.
I feel like teams have already figured out the Deebo in the backfield whole thing, Shanahan has to go through so much to get Deebo the ball back there for it to actually get yardage now, because teams know. So I just feel like, use Deebo how he's supposed to be used, especially now that we have CMC. You have, every time Mason gets the ball in his hands, he does something great. He's at least, he looks like he gets stopped, and then all of a sudden he's popping out for another 3, 4, 5 yards, somehow. It's like, use them. I want to see them used how when Mitchell came back from injury and Mitchell and CMC were being used. That's how I want to see Mason and CMC used.
Yeah.
Whether Deebo's healthy, what doesn't matter,
Yeah.
Like, so yeah, I don't want to see nobody like down the middle like that unless it's a freaking running back.
I completely agree with you. Now, this is the thing. I understand people when they say, you got time now. You got time now. Appreciate you coming in, CO. Good to see you, bro. And then, hey, thank you for coming in. What's going on, bro? Long time no see. And but yeah, the way I look at it is you've got. I understand people that say, "Oh well, it worked. When it works, people are happy." Obviously, but this is the thing: when like the last year, think about why that came about. Why the whole wide back thing came about. The wide back thing came about because we couldn't produce any offense. It was out of necessity. Jimmy was sucking. Our whole offense was stinking. We couldn't get any production out of anybody. So now we're getting production. Deebo has been kind of almost a non-factor for the first half of the season. So at a certain point, but you've got CMC now. You got Jennings emerging. You've got Ayuk emerging. You've got all these other guys that are emerging there's no real need to do that. And I get it that it works. I get it that it works, but why you paid this? You just paid this man. He's an investment. It's an investment at this point.
Mhm.
So when you have an investment, a guy that you've invested dollars in, you want to put him in his best position to succeed and try and keep him healthy. Like in my mind, it is not a good idea to just run him up the middle. I get it that everybody, like I think Rich, it was Rich that I saw posted, it wasn't a run up the middle. Regardless,
Yeah,
he ended up going up the middle
exactly.
and he ended up running into defensive linemen.
Yeah,
Like so, it doesn't
yeah, I
matter that
saw
it
that too.
wasn't that the run wasn't meant to go up the middle. The fact of the matter is that's
He
the
ended up there.
risk. That's the risk that you take when you choose to use Debo in that way. We used to use him on screens and like all kinds of other ways and the jet sweeps, and nobody had a real problem with that. Like because there was no threat of him, like I said, running up the gut into defensive linemen. Like, but it is what it is. I just, in my estimation, I understand why Kyle's doing it because he just it's a toy. Like with Kyle, like not I shouldn't say it like that, but once Kyle finds something that he likes, he runs that thing into the ground.
Yeah,
Like, and he's just gonna keep doing it. It's over and over until it's obvious that it's not working anymore, and then he has to move on to something else. But I think that we may see a little bit different of usage when Debo comes back. I would not be surprised, and then people will say they'll have some other excuse why he's not doing it.
yeah,
Like, but yeah, I don't. I think I was even upset that they were using CMC straight up the gut like they were,
yeah. Me too.
because CMC is not he's not a big guy. Like,
Yeah,
and you're just running him into walls. Like, we don't have that type of offensive line. You don't have that off. We don't run a power gap system. So what are we doing as far as that goes? If you're expecting Brendel to just push guys and move guys out of the way, I mean what do they say? Like you do something once, okay, it's a mistake. But if you keep making mistake over and over and over again, it's called insanity.
yeah,
like so at a certain point you just have to. I think you saw it in this last game that it was all kinds of movement on that line, all kinds of outside zone, and that's really, and you saw what happened with CMC.
yeah,
He flourished. They got Mason in at the end. And of course then they started trying to run it straight up the middle again, but when he's in there, but even with Mason in there, with him, they were doing some outside zone, which that's what we want to see, because you want to get him against that second level of the defense, and making a guy miss. Because I will tell you, Mason is great at running through arm tackles and making that first guy miss, and his little jump cuts are
yeah.
just murder, like on defenses. So.
I can't wait to see him finally break one off, and just
Oh,
be
it's
going.
coming.
But, yeah,
Yeah, it's coming for sure. Like, but so who do you think is going to step up in Debo's absence? I think we saw a little taste of it in the last game, but who do you think is going to step up, and who benefits the most from Purdy now being the starter out of the receivers?
yeah. I mean, obviously, CMC for starters. I mean, he already gets a chunk of the workload, but I think he benefits no matter who's at quarterback, honestly. So, I mean, that's a given. Besides that, I think it's going to be Danny Gray, and then I think it's going to be a mixture of like a Ray, Juwan Jennings combo.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we saw Ray kind of take some of those end arounds, type
Yeah.
things. And I don't personally like him doing that just because he's so little,
Yeah.
and then the fumbling issues. Yeah, it hasn't been an issue since he's been with us, but it's been an issue in the past,
Yeah.
his
In
entire
the beginning
career.
of the
So
season, I think he fumbled like twice in the beginning of the
yeah.
season, but he hasn't fumbled in a long time.
But anytime he has the ball in his hands, I'm just like, oh my God, please, please just hold on to the ball, right? Like, so I don't know that I, like him like that, but it looks like, Shanahan started using him like that.
Mhm.
But like I'd like to see Juwan Jennings get in there more,
Mhm.
not just as a third down. Like, yeah, he's great in that role, but I think, there's so much more he can do and so much more he can be than just that. Um, so I'd like to see him used more, but I do think Danny Gray obviously benefited the most with Trey Lance, right? And then we kind of all figured when Garoppolo came in that was the end of Danny Gray's
Yeah.
career.
Well, Danny, I think you're injured now. You're
Yeah.
going to be on the injury report for the rest of the season.
And then we kind of seen, right, like at the very beginning, Danny Gray like acted out or said something, and then he kind of went in Garoppolo's doghouse and we never seen him again.
Yep.
So I think he, if anybody's going to benefit the most, it's going to be him because we're probably going to get to see him when he had been inactive, or just on the bench, on
Yeah.
the bench, on the bench,
And he got
So
his first
anything
catch.
more by him, yeah, that's out of the way, like
Yeah.
it seemed like it took forever to get that first one. And I feel like now that one's gone, like Shanahan's like, okay, let's get him in there a little bit more. So, and then Ayuk, obviously with Debo being down, Ayuk's going to be the number one. And
Yep.
we heard him come out and say how Purdy had told him after that first game, like, oh, I know I missed you on a couple, but, like, my bad, I won't do it again. Like, I'm going to make sure I feed you, so I'm waiting to see that. Once he finds out, like gets that trust and that relationship with Ayuk going, like I look for that to be, pretty special because Ayuk's just that guy,
Yeah, he
So
is. Like he breaks it doesn't matter who the cornerback is. I think the
yeah,
best cornerback that we've seen this so far this season was Patrick Surtain over in Denver, and he got his on Patrick Surtain. Like he got open a few times, and I mean, granted, it was Jimmy back there, so he's not
yeah,
going to take advantage of it every time. But
yeah.
yeah,
His route running's nasty.
his
Like, man,
oh my god, it's nasty. It is, and throughout the season, it's progressed because in the
yeah,
beginning of the season, it was he still was a good route runner, but it was like there was a little fine tuning that still needed to be done, and it was
hmm
little details that he was missing, and but ever since, and I go back to this every time, but ever since Kurt Warner put out that video and showed him being lazy with his routes and and put it on tape and basically like not when he didn't think the ball was coming to. Well, he said that about Debo, but he showed one time where Ayuk was going too fast on his slants, and he needed to go up a little bit further especially when they're pressing him, and ever since then he has just been routing guys up like every single game. It's so I look forward to seeing him, but I know you don't like him, but I think Ray is going to be the biggest beneficiary for this. I think you saw it last game with the sweeps and them trying to get him the ball in space, because I mean he's already the best returner that we got in special teams. Like I mean, even though he hasn't broken one, he steadily gets us positive good field position.
yeah. He's done a lot better these last couple weeks.
Yeah, but he just he's good in space. He used to be a running back in high school. Shanny loves his guys that used to be running backs in high school. And and yeah, he has a way. I don't think they're going to be running him like Debo, but I think that they're going to try and get him the ball in space just to put some moves on some people.
Yeah,
But yeah, like you were saying, I think everybody's going to be a little bit of a beneficiary, because what we've seen from Purdy is that he's going to spread it around.
yeah.
Everybody going to get some love.
We've
And
seen Kittle more used a lot more, it seems
yep.
like, and that's usually a rookie's young quarterback's, best friend is their tight end. So as long as Kittle doesn't need to be there blocking, to see him get used more is always a plus too.
Yeah, for sure. Like I love it. I think the players are really loving it. Like especially the receivers, because they weren't there. It keeps them involved in the game. Like I think before you didn't know when your next reception was coming, and I
Yeah.
think now Purdy's mobility, being able to get out of the pocket, Now they have to stay open. They have to find a way to stay open because he may be able to extend the play. And I think that's going to be a big factor also. I think you saw that in the last game too. Um, but so let's move on to the run game. So the run game, we talked about a little bit earlier. Run game went off. They had like over 200 yards rushing. And do they have over 200 yards rushing? Yeah, total, like with Purdy. They counted Purdy's rushing yards, but running game went off. Do you think this is a turning point for CMC in this offense? And is Purdy having an effect on this running game?
I don't know if it's necessarily, obviously Purdy can move, so that's always a positive. I kind of giggled when he said, "Oh, if you add Purdy's yards," because we're not used to having to add the quarterback's yards, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, it has that positive. I do think though that CMC, is getting more each game. He's getting more comfortable with this offense. We have to remember he was in the same offense there. Of course, different coaches and stuff, but he was in the same place there in Carolina for his entire career so far. So his whole move, the change of scenery, the change of teammates, the change of teams, the change of coaches, everything. I think, he gets more comfortable with the scheme, the playbook. Kyle gets more comfortable, game planning for CMC. We talked about, obviously we don't want to see him ran up the middle. I think Kyle's kind of figuring that out as well as he goes. The only knock, and I said this earlier, is that I would like to see Mason used earlier. He's not the number 3 running back anymore. He's the number 2 guy. And I don't think you should be saving your number 2 guy for the second half of a football game. Like, he needs to be in there, especially with CMC. You said it. He's smaller. We know he has an injury history. He doesn't need to be out there every single play,
Yeah.
like, until, okay, you can't breathe anymore. All right, now we'll have Mason come in. Oh, you can't run anymore. Okay, now we'll have Mason come in. It's like, why does it have to get to that before you have Mason come in? So yeah, I want to see them used both in the first half. And then I want to see TDP used, why do we draft these guys and then they're like, just like, okay, you stay over here. We're never going to talk to you again for another year and a half. It's like, use Mason as your second guy and use TDP as the guy now that you're sprinkling in as, third, fourth quarter come around and you're winning games, so he can get used to playing, running, whatever his issue is. Obviously reps are probably going to help,
Yeah,
like
a little bit
with anybody, let's get him out there and get him some reps. So yeah, I think a mixture of all that.
Yeah. So, I mean, I look at CMC. I think this is kind of a turning point in for him in this offense for a couple of reasons. I think that I look at Purdy and what were we excited about with Trey Lance? We were excited because Trey Lance was going to be able to stretch the field and that teams wouldn't be able to stack the box against the run game. And I think that's what's happening. That's what's happening right now. I think Purdy is doing enough to loosen up those defenders to where they can't just stack the box. You saw it; they blitzed the hell out of him. That's not working. And then he's hitting guys for gains and one of them he hit, and then sometimes he's hitting guys for touchdowns. So it comes down to Purdy is doing enough in the passing game to keep these defenses honest. And if you keep these defenses honest, then it gets to a point to where Shanny is just licking his chops, and now he gets to just run his plays. And that when you're not stacking the box against this run game, and you see a big monster like Trent Williams pulling and coming towards a safety or a corner, it spells curtains, and that's when you see CMC break off those big runs, and even Jordan Mason, because when you've got to play base against a big guy like Jordan Mason, he's going to be running through your arm tackles. He's going to wear you down, and I agree with you. I want to see him earlier on in the game and give that defense those body blows to loosen them up for Purdy. Yeah. Do the same thing for Purdy? Suck those defenders up so that he can on play action. I mean, you see it. He's going to make the read and he's going to get to the right guy. So, yeah, I just think it's going to be. I think that they're both. It's a symphony right now of just like last game was. I don't think I've seen Kyle's offense run as pretty as that was. At like, excuse the pun, pretty. Like, but like, do you think like as we just talked, we just talked all so much about Mason? Like, do you think Mason's is just gonna continue to be a run out the clock running back? Is Kyle just gonna keep using him the way he's using him, or do you think there is a chance that because before you answer, I thought it was really interesting when they were interviewing CMC after the game that he mentioned Mason and that he mentioned that he would like to see him, that he's getting more carries and he wants to see him get more carries. I thought that was really interesting that he would bring him up because it's almost like he's telling Kyle in the media, hey, he's ready.
Yeah.
Like, I'd like to see him loosen up the defense for me. Like,
right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, so it's yeah, but what do you think? Well, Mason always going to be that run out the clock running back, or do you see a thing where Shanny can start mixing them?
Yeah, I sure hope not. Like I just said, I really hope he gets used sooner. And we know that Shanahan has a hard time trusting rookies. He, all this. So, and it was said, rumors were coming out that Mason couldn't, pass block. And so, having him come in, was a dead giveaway. Okay, it's a run, but I mean, we got Trent Williams tipping plays. We got all this tipping plays already. So who gives a shit at this point?
We haven't heard nothing about tipping plays in a couple of weeks now.
So who cares if Mason's tipping plays, right? Like, but yeah, I mean, I sure hope so. And I hope as, the more reps he's in there getting, the more trust he can, build in Shanahan. And, like even a couple of weeks ago, we seen him come in and him and Purdy both come in and Purdy hands him off the ball, whether it was him running on the wrong side. Either way, Purdy goes to hand the ball off one side and Mason's running up this side instead, so hopefully, as he plays and gets more comfortable and him and Purdy get more comfortable together, hopefully we'll start seeing more of him.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Like, I mean, every week I say it, I hope so. Like, I hope we see like, and I have jokingly, it hasn't caught on. It still hasn't caught on yet. I think I'm still the only person calling Mason fans Masonites, but I just want us all the Masonites to stand up every week and like make your voices heard. We want to see Mason. Like, we want to see more of him. Like, we see the talent, we see the explosiveness, we see he's like a siege weapon for all my dorks out there. Like he's just you just batter him up against the gates, and eventually they go and give.
Yeah.
So it is what it is. But now we get to talk about my favorite part of the team, which is the defense. Defense dominated again, and it was nice to see them be able to dominate almost in a different fashion because Shanny kind of leans on them usually and just hoping that they can keep the other team at bay, and he does just enough on offense to get the win. But this was I'm sure the defense really appreciated it too, like that they were able to be aggressive, and it was like as soon as they got the ball back in Purdy's hands, he was taking advantage. But do the 49ers I want to start with the linebackers. Do the 49ers have the best linebackers in the league? Like, I feel like they do, but how do you feel about them?
I definitely think they do, and I don't think it's very close, to be honest.
Yeah, me either.
Especially when you count in Aziz with Greenlaw and Fred, and even that pairing of Greenlaw and Fred, I don't think that we've seen a great pairing on this team since Bowman and Willis.
Yeah, and
I really think that they're getting close to being at that level.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Like, I just think that they are the best. I think that Fred Warner is the best linebacker in the league. Like, as far as an all-around guy, is he the most physical? No.
But he has gotten more physical than
I would say. He tries. He tries to be more physical by almost like Huff. Like he tries to get there before you can build up your steam. And but yeah, he's just so smart that he gets to you before the play even begins,
Yep.
to get going. So I love me some Fred Warner, and then in coverage there is none better in coverage. So and then you've got Greenlaw, who's no slouch in coverage either,
Right.
but he likes to lay the boom, and he likes to send a message. So I mean, if you're going to throw into his zone, I mean, I don't think that your receiver or your running back is going to be really happy with you. Later on down the road, he put a shot on somebody in this last game where the guy, he took the shot and then he just immediately almost went down to one knee. And you could
Yeah.
almost feel it, but yeah, let's move on to Jimmy Ward. Jimmy Ward, I get the feeling that he's settling into his new role, because I don't think that they're just using him in the slot. They're kind of moving him around, using him in blitz packages, and which almost got him hurt in the
Yeah.
last, but it was painful too. I just got to speak on that block. Fournette put a block on him and got him right in the ribs, and I thought he was hurt. But do you think Jimmy Ward is settling into this new role, or has D'Amico just found a better way to use him?
Yeah, I think it's a mixture of three things. So one, like you said, D'Amico's, using him a little bit more different, not just in the slot. Like we've seen him, like you said, rushing the quarterback this last game and moving around a little bit more. So I think that helps. And then once he came back, remember, he was playing with the club. He had just had surgery, all this. So he's getting healthier as each game goes by. So I think that plays a huge part into it. And then the third thing, he's playing in not a complete new position. Like he's played here before, but that's not his position. And it's been a few years since he's played there. So he's getting more comfortable in what he's doing too. So I think it's a combination of all three of those things. But it's nice to see, I was one that was really pissed off that he was playing there in the slot because he was playing terrible. When you're giving up every single catch that has come your way, I just kept you can't tell me that, Womack would do worse. That's my whole thing. If you just had some scrub, on the bench waiting, then okay, yeah, play him. But we know Womack can be something, right?
Yeah,
we've seen flashes when he gets the opportunity. So that's I was, hammering for Womack to come in if that's how Jimmy was going to continue to look. But yeah, and I was pissed too because it's his contract year, right? And
yeah,
I was just mad that the 49ers were doing that to him because I don't think that I've never thought that you should be able to lose your job to injury.
yeah. It's
And
true.
and yeah, Gibson's playing so good in the spot, nobody expected Gibson to come in off the couch, and be able to play as good as he's played, right? So I know that it's made that situation hard, but I just felt so bad for Jimmy, being the longest tenured 49er and the team's kind of just screwing you, when you need to get paid. But yeah, so I'm happy to see whatever the reasons are, that he's playing better, and for him to get interceptions and something that he's never even got much, even playing as a safety, right? So at least, he's doing that.
Yeah, and I mean, that one interception that he had in the Miami game where he leapt over, it was like a Superman
Yeah.
interception. That was just pretty. But I would say that, the last couple of games, D'Amico has found a way to get him in a position to where he can be more aggressive. And as we all know, Jimmy Ward is a very aggressive guy. He's just a very aggressive temperament. And I think that is right up his wheelhouse. And honestly, he had Brady dead to rights this last game before he got hit in the ribs. But like you said, in the beginning of the season, I think people forget that we were arguing whether that we thought that, I think everybody thought that this defense might struggle because Jimmy Ward wasn't going to play. We were wondering oh my God, what are we going to do without Jimmy Ward? And then Tashawn Gibson comes in and I mean, nobody was saying his name.
Unbelievable together. Like they
Oh
have
my
been
god,
such a great pair together.
the chemistry is crazy, and I
Yep.
think because Huff was already the person on the, I think it works out even better because Huff was already the person on the team, and so Deshaun Gibson was coming in, and it gave Huff an opportunity to just be able to do what Huff does now anyway, which is just put guys in the right positions. I
Yep.
mean, coverage, like which he does an awesome job at that. Like I mean, yeah, we do have the occasional busted coverage, but I don't think that this last one was on Huff. Like, um, but yeah, it's Ward. Just like you said, I love that they're finding ways to make him, to highlight him because of just what you said. It's his contract year. This at least teams will be able to say, hey, he's still got something in the tank. I
Yeah.
mean, it's just the Niners. They just got players. Like, what can what can you do? Like, there's just a lot of good guys on this team, and that this defense is just, he's gonna be. They're still gonna look at him as a part of this defense as a whole, and they're gonna be looking. I think teams are gonna be looking for a veteran to come in and bring that culture, that 49er culture, just like other teams have.
I agree.
The DJ Jones and the like Denver did with DJ Jones and Miami's done. They want that. They want those players to come in and bring that culture. So
Yep.
it'll be interesting. I think that Jimmy Ward is not going to have a problem finding a job as long as he can stay healthy for the rest of the season, which I know for the 49ers is a tall order to ask. But but how do you feel about the interior of this T line? And are the 49ers going to have to bring more guys in? And second part of the question is, can we trust Kinlaw to return? Because they say he's
Yeah.
supposed to be back next week.
I'll start with the Kinlaw thing because that's the easiest. I'm not going to hold my breath. So if that makes, your nuts bigger than mine, then so
Yeah.
be it. But
Well, I hope
um,
so. But
I would love for Kinlaw to come back, right? Like before the season started, me and TL talked about how that was one of our keys to getting to the Super Bowl was Kinlaw being healthy and being able to be what we needed him to be what they drafted him to be. And yeah, obviously that hasn't worked out that way. And it's unfortunate because he has the talent, and the size and the physical traits,
as
everything
everything.
to be great. But man, when you're that big and your knees go or, your back goes, like the
Mm-hmm.
D Ford situation, it's unfortunate because, you can only do so much things to try to fix those parts of your body. And when you're 300 pounds, whatever he weighs, I don't even know, but I would imagine over 300 pounds, that puts a toll on your body, and you're trying to move and run and bend and squat and do all that,
Yeah.
So yeah, it's unfortunate, but I mean, hopefully, what else? It seems like every time they ask about him, it's always like, oh, well, yeah, he'll start practicing sometime. Now Kyle says, oh, well, the plan's always been, well, that's not what you said the last 5 times you were asked
Yeah.
about it, but now the plan's been to, to start practicing after Seattle. Okay.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we'll see when it happens. That's the best thing I can say. Like, don't hold your breath. And, if we do get him, in time for the playoffs, like, great, right? Like,
Yeah.
and then the rest of the line, like, it's unfortunate that we finally get Eric Armstead back, which has been huge.
Yeah. If we hadn't got him back, I
Yeah, the
mean,
difference he makes being on that line is, man, like Nick Bosa's already having a hell of a season. Could you imagine, like, if Eric Armstead wouldn't have been hurt, like, and would have been playing all these games, like, man, Nick Bosa would be a terror.
yeah.
But and then we get Armstead back and Ridgeway tears his pec. It's like, you gotta be kidding me. And then this game we saw what, Hyder go down.
Yeah.
Somebody
Hyder went
else,
down.
yeah, somebody else I think
Givens.
went down. Yeah, Givens out.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, I saw that they signed some D line to the practice
Yeah.
squad,
I
and then
can't
they
remember
have
what he-
that they had picked up that Ty McGill,
Yeah.
which he's been doing decent. I guess will be able to fill in. But yeah, they're gonna have to pick up some people. If we start losing anybody else, it's only a matter of time before we're not gonna have anybody. That's like crazy going into the season. Are always our positions that we have the most people.
Yeah.
Like We got 65 defensive line people, and yet we're towards the end of the season and we got 5 left. Like, it's just crazy, right? Like,
Yeah.
so I mean, I think that they're gonna have to pick up a couple for the, put them on the practice squad in case something does happen and you can pull them up. Because if not, it's getting very thin across there. I think that the guys that we do have are so, good with Armstead and Bosa and, Drake Jackson on the other end, Sosa on the other end, spelling each other, that, they can make up for that, whoever we can throw into that 4th spot. But, I mean, it would be nice to have Kinlaw there.
Yeah, no kidding. And I mean, he won't be there for this game, but they're talking about he's going to come back to practice after this game. And so I don't know that he'll even be back for the next game. But I look at this D line and they need to bring, at the very least, they're going to have to bring in some people to the practice squad. I don't know, when is Kalia Davis just not going to come back at all?
I mean, when they asked last time, like he had said, like they asked, oh, I see you're starting to practice. Are you coming back anytime soon? Should we expect you or not till next season? And he's like, it's getting close. You should be expecting me soon. So
okay, well, hopefully
maybe we'll get him in time for the playoffs. I don't know, but then he hasn't played in so long that it's like, what, we just throw him in there for the playoffs? Like,
and I mean, and he's a rookie.
Yeah.
I don't know about that, but I'm sure that they're probably going to get some random veterans off the scrap heap, and Kasarik will do his magic, and they'll all of a sudden be world beaters. But yeah, it's I don't necessarily. I know that they have a plan. They always have a plan. I think this short turnaround for this game makes it a little complicated because you have all these people go down in this last game. You've got to keep. And I mean, Eric Armstead is just coming off an injury, and now you've got him doing a short turnaround. You probably didn't want to give him as many reps as he's probably going to have to play now. You got Bosa that was having injury issues.
Practice all last week.
Yeah, it really, this short turnaround really kind of scares me a little bit, because this is the second game I think that they've had where they had like kind of a short week.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't like the way that they're I feel like they do it to take the 49ers out. I just take it personal. But Kinlaw, I don't know. I don't think I can ever put my faith in Kinlaw because of just what you just talked about. His knees, 300-pound men are not supposed to be able to do the things that he can do.
Mm-hmm.
And it is too much weight to be putting on your knees in the first place. But especially ligaments and stuff that have been compromised already, it's gonna be a chronic issue. It's just, and I think everybody knows it at this point. I think that they're gonna try and squeeze water out of a rock and see what they can get. Even if they just tell them just stand there and be big, just stand there and
take up a blocker.
Yeah, so I don't, even when he comes back, I don't expect him to be the same Kinlaw that we had seen early in the season. I don't expect to see that. I expect him to kind of be, his movements to be kind of measured, and him not to play full bore, just because he's going to want to try and stay healthy. And I think that that's probably going to be enough, because they're probably going to be using him mostly rundowns. I think. I don't think they're going to use him as a pass rusher. But on to Seattle. Is this game, do you think this game is going to be better than the first matchup? And I know we're going a little long, but this is the last part. I want to talk about the game on Thursday, but will this game be different? Do you think the game is going to be different than the first matchup? And are the Seahawks better or worse than the last time we saw
them? I think the Seahawks have gotten worse. I don't know. I think they're showing their true colors. They have had injuries, but, to start the season, they had a few easy games there, and they've kind of gone on a losing streak since. So, as I said earlier, I think that Geno Smith is finally starting to write his letter back now. He's getting ready to sign Love Geno any day. But But I'm expecting the 49ers to go in there and dominate just like they did the first game. I'm expecting them to dominate worse, more so than they did the first game.
Yeah.
Our defense and offense are both playing better than they were during our first matchup. And I think that their defense and offense are playing worse. So I do worry that, this is still Purdy's second start, and he's going into one of the loudest stadiums that in NFL,
This is going to be a real test.
Yeah, like he's still getting used to Kyle Shanahan in the headset, getting the calls, getting the calls from Shanahan, relaying those calls to the team. And now you have where you can't hear anything.
Silent count.
So yeah, like that makes me nervous. But that's really my only fear going into this game. I think, if this game was us at home, like we would kill them even more. And I wouldn't even have any worries whatsoever. But since it's there, that's always an advantage to them. I think they have more home field advantage than almost any other team in the NFL. So, yeah, I do think, though, that we're going to go in there and take care of business. This defense, we had to go back to the Tampa Bay game for a minute. Tom Brady doesn't throw interceptions. Like, I think he had couple interceptions, two interceptions going into that game. And so for us to be able to take care of Tom Brady the way that we did, like I'm expecting, and yeah, Gino of course can move, he can run, he can get out, but he can't throw like Tom Brady,
No.
I'm expecting this defense to have him running for his life. So, he better hope he can run.
Yeah, for sure. And I was going to ask, will they have a better game plan than we've seen against Purdy? But I think that you made a better point, because I think that's probably going to be it's just another test for Purdy. Like, can he go on the road? This is his first time going on the road, and then on top of it, can he deal with that crowd noise? Because this will be he's going to have to probably go silent count, and can he still run this offense? With all that going on around him. I thankfully, even though Russ is a dumpster fire right now, like I still am glad that he's not there.
Yeah, me too.
But do you think that the Seahawks can score on this defense?
I have my score prediction, and I do have them scoring some points, but I don't have them scoring a touchdown.
Oh, okay. I think that they're probably going to get at least one fluke touchdown because because they do have a couple of guys over there in what's his name? Lockett. Metcalf and Lockett. Like and Lockett is the one that scares me more than Metcalf. Like I think the 49ers always do a pretty decent job against Metcalf. But but Lockett is the one that's the short, shifty guy that has speed. And I never understand why he's not. People don't even bring him up when they bring up this team. But yeah, I think that they're going to score at least one fluke touchdown, and I think it's actually going to be Lockett that gets the touchdown on him. But yeah, we talked about score predictions. Like my score prediction is I've got for this game is 27. I got him 27-10. What about you?
I have 34-9.
Woo! Miriah coming in hot. No pressure, Purdy.
Yep.
But yeah, it's I think the one common denominator between our predictions is I think that the 49ers defense is going to dominate.
Yep.
And that's going to be the key to this game, as it's the key to every one of the 49er games. And I think that the 49er run game is going to dominate because the Seahawks run defense is not good.
Yep.
Is not good. And I think that the run defense or run offense is gonna dominate, and I think that's gonna open just enough up for Purdy to where he can do enough to where just to keep the offense flowing, just like he did last game. You can see we don't need big numbers out of our quarterback.
Yep.
I think he had 195 yards, and then the game before that he had like 240 or something like that, or 225 I think it was, and so he doesn't need to get. He's a change of pace. our quarterback is a change of pace. So
I mean,
uh,
and like we always said with Jimmy, like all you have to go in there and do with this team is not turn the ball over and get the ball in the playmaker's hands.
absolutely,
You know, as long
absolutely.
as you can do that, you know, as the quarterback of this team right now, you should be fine because we have the defense to win games and we have the playmakers to, you know, score points. So
Yeah, I feel you. Like, but Mariah, I appreciate you coming on. I know, like I said, I know we went a little bit long, but I appreciate you coming
no
on. I had a
worries.
great time, like chopping it up with you as always, and like next time we'll have to get TL to take the shackles off and come on the show.
Yep.
And but one more time, why don't you tell everybody where they can find your stuff on the socials and all the things that you're doing.
Yep. Again, I appreciate you having me on. As always, anytime you want us, as long as TL, you know, is not playing hooky, we'll both be here. But if he is, I'll be here. And yeah, I had a great time as always. Yeah, Miriah 49 Lee on Twitter, and then you can find me in TL on our podcast on YouTube at 49 Faithfully.
All right, yeah, and once again, you can find me at Twitter at Peter Lucas 8, and then obviously you can find me on YouTube, Facebook, uh, Twitter, and then you can find me anywhere on the audio version, anywhere where you can get your favorite podcast. I'm also on TikTok and on Instagram. I put my snippets of the show, so if you don't want to look at my face for the whole hour, like you don't have to. You can just look at the snippet. But I appreciate everybody coming in. I appreciate Kelts and Brandon, Damian, Jesus, and there was a couple other people I'm forgetting. But I appreciate all you guys for coming in and making your voices heard in the chat. Please give us a like and give a subscribe. Tell your friends to tell their friends, and we can be friends. And but as we're gonna finish the show off with the way we always finish the show off, and with a big Go Niners.
Go Niners.